Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. So, you know how massive amounts of productivity just sort of vanish in the average company simply because their HR systems literally do not talk to each other? Well, today we are diving deep into a massive shift happening right under our noses. We're looking at the AI-driven revolution of human resources. We're going to see how AI isn't just, a fancy new tool. It's absolutely fundamentally transforming HR into an entirely new ecosystem. So, let's jump right in.
Think about your own experience for a second. Does navigating a career path where you work actually feel like a smooth, seamlessly connected journey? Or is it more like a series of disconnected hurdles? Imagine this employee. Let's call him Alex. Alex has this stellar onboarding experience, right? But then, a year later, his performance review feels totally disconnected from the skills he was actually hired for in the first place. Or the training he takes never seems to actually align with any real promotion paths. Why does it so often feel like we're just jumping over disjointed hurdles instead of, walking a continuous path?
Well, that brings us to part one, the HR silo trap.
It's so important to validate that frustration because honestly, it's completely real. And it's actually built into the very architecture of how most organizations operate today. The everyday friction we all feel at work is usually the direct result of traditional HR operating in these totally disconnected silos. You've got different teams handling recruitment, onboarding, performance, and they're just not talking. But in the AI era, we finally get this holistic view with unified, interconnected processes. It's basically the difference between a relay race where the runners just keep dropping the baton and a finely tuned engine where every single part works in perfect harmony.
Let's look at the pieces: recruitment, onboarding, performance and compensation, engagement and compliance, succession and workforce planning, all the way down to exit management. Traditionally, these are completely walled gardens. The recruitment team almost never shares their data with the exit management team. It's kind of like a Bermuda Triangle where all these valuable employee insights just vanish into thin air. And what happens? Well, massive inefficiencies. We miss opportunities to figure out why our best hires might eventually leave or how onboarding actually impacts long-term compensation. The data is all there, but it's totally trapped in these silos.
Which leads us to part two, AI, the great integrator.
Okay, so how do we actually tear down those walls? Well, we're finally moving past that era of fragmented data and stepping into a time where we have the ultimate solution to bridge these isolated HR islands. We call this integrated employee lifecycle management. This is the stage where AI-driven project management frameworks step in to unify every single HR function into a single, predictive, and continuously optimized system. And I want you to really notice that word, predictive. It's not just looking backward at what an employee already did, it's actively anticipating what the workforce is going to need next.
The impact of this integration? It's absolutely profound. It shifts HR from just being seen as a bunch of disconnected administrative tasks, the paperwork, the standard reviews, into an actual powerhouse of measurable strategic success. By interconnecting all these processes, HR is completely transformed into this overarching strategic project with measurable outcomes across all stages. Everything gets tracked, measured, and optimized.
So let's explore part three, unifying the employee journey.
Let's make this really concrete. We're going to look at how AI actually maps and monitors this chronological journey, literally from the very first day you interact with a company during recruitment to the day you walk out the door into exit and alumni status. Instead of these being isolated events, AI lifecycle analytics find patterns across time. For example, it might discover that candidates brought in through a specific talent attraction campaign during recruitment show a very distinct sentiment during their initial onboarding, which then eventually dictates their career pathing during the performance stage. Suddenly, this entire timeline is seamlessly connected.
Now, practically speaking, what does this look like? Well, look at predictive workforce planning. This is where AI integrates talent, performance, and succession data to actually forecast future needs with real accuracy. Or continuous engagement monitoring. This links sentiment from onboarding all the way to exit, providing leadership with a real-time pulse of the employee experience. And honestly, this next one is huge: knowledge transfer orchestration. This preserves institutional memory during transitions, meaning it secures vital company knowledge so it doesn't just walk out the door when someone retires. These aren't just fluffy buzzwords, right? These are very tangible, trackable actions and outcomes.
And on an individual level, AI-driven career pathing builds a completely unified growth framework for every single employee through a few simple steps. First, it connects learning data. Then, it seamlessly integrates that with actual performance metrics. And finally, it aligns all of that with the organization's succession planning. So your career growth is no longer this confusing guessing game, it's a strategically mapped pathway.
Now we zoom out for part 4, the Master Project Manager.
This really brings us to the big picture climax of our explainer today. I mean, if AI is doing all of this connecting, predicting, and optimizing, it fundamentally elevates its role into the grand orchestrator of the organization's entire strategy. It doesn't just keep HR within HR anymore, it synchronizes HR with finance. It synchronizes HR with operations. It basically aligns everything directly with overarching organizational strategy. And because the system can see the whole board, it entirely eliminates duplication of effort and automates compliance across every single stage. HR is no longer just a background support function, it's a synchronized partner actually running the engine of the business.
Our source material actually hits the nail on the head here, explicitly stating, by orchestrating these elements, AI acts as the master project manager of the employee lifecycle, ensuring that HR is not a series of disconnected processes, but a continuous, integrated journey. And that right there, that is the defining shift. AI is essentially being personified here as the ultimate master project manager, flawlessly pulling every single thread together.
So, to summarize the ultimate strategic outcomes of treating integrated lifecycle management as this master project, we really look to 3 main pillars. AI delivers foresight, that incredible ability to predict future workforce needs. It delivers alignment, keeping every single department perfectly in sync. And it delivers resilience, giving the organization the flexibility to adapt smoothly to market shifts across all stages. For you and me, this means working in an environment that actually anticipates our needs, aligns with our goals, and just seamlessly adapts to change.
Which leaves us with this final thought. We've seen how AI can tear down the silos, completely automate compliance, and perfectly map the chronological journey. But the ultimate goal of removing all that friction, it isn't just efficiency, it's empowerment. So ask yourself this. When AI takes over as the master project manager of HR, what new human potentials will your organization finally unlock? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really challenge you to look at your own employee life cycle with fresh eyes this week. Catch you next time.